From Monumental Reinvention, I am Erica Hannafin, Austria. This is the podcast. I read you the essay, then I tell you the moment I did not write down. Welcome in. Welcome to Monumental Reinvention. I'm Erica Hannafin, Austria. This is episode 4 on becoming both the audio companion to 2 chapters, one body, 1 year. One honest note before I start. I am not a doctor, and nothing here is medical advice. This is my story, so you can go and ask better questions sooner. Okay, here is the letter. No one prepares you for the possibility that your body can be building a life and coming apart in the same season. I was 41. I had a baby who still fit in the crook of one arm. The weight of him, the best thing I have ever held. And I had night sweats that soaked through my pajamas before 2 a.m. I would wake up certain I had been running in my sleep. The sheets damp, my heart going, the monitor glowing on the nightstand. During the day, I was mothering a newborn. At night, I was trying to understand a body that no longer felt like mine. Everyone wanted to celebrate the new chapter. Almost no one thought to ask how my body was surviving it. I know how this can sound, so let me be clear. I was incredibly grateful. He was wanted and prayed for and worth every hard night. But gratitude and grief can share a body, the same way a nursery and a night sweat can share a house. I was becoming a mother and becoming someone else in the same year, and I did not have the language for the second one yet. Here's what those nights actually look like. The part I left out. I would wake up and check him first, always him. His breathing, the rise and fall of it in the monitor light. And then I would lie back down in the soaking wet sheets and check myself and find nothing I could name. That was the loneliness part. Not the sweat, not having a word for it. You can survive almost anything if someone hands you the name for it. I did not have the name for it. I want to be precise about this because precision is the whole point of this letter. I did have postpartum depression. I still do. It was real. It was diagnosed. And I would never wave that away from another woman standing inside it. But postpartum was not the whole story. The symptoms I had carried for years before I was ever pregnant, the night sweats, the flatness, the body that had been changing since my 30s, came back after he was born in spades. My hormones were not off on one tidy, nimble way. They were off in layers. The world had a word for the layer everyone could see. It had no word at all for the one underneath. The symptoms were not dramatic. That was not what made them dangerous. It was not one alarm going off in the night. It was the volume turned down on my own life, one notch at a time. So slowly, I kept adjusting to the new normal instead of questioning it. The anxiety that arrived without a reason, the irritability I did not recognize in myself, a flatness that did not quite feel like depression, but sat in the exact chair where joy used to, and the quiet disappearance of my sex drive. So gradual, I almost convinced myself I had simply gotten busy, gotten tired, gotten older. I could still perform. I could still lead. I could still mother. I was just not living any of it with the vitality I used to take for granted. I was doing my whole life from behind a pane of glass, and I did not have a word for the glass. I almost cut one line from that letter, so let me say it out loud here, what it belongs. The disappearance of my sex drive, no one puts that in the birth announcement. No one warns you how quietly desire can leave the room or how fast you will blame yourself for it. Busy, tired, older, a marriage that was already ending. I had 100 reasons ready before I even considered where my chemistry was. If that is you, hear me. You are not broken and you are not cold. You are underinformed. There's a difference, and the difference is everything. For a long time, I had an explanation, and the explanation was my life. The night sweats were stress. I was running a company with both hands, and my marriage was coming apart. So, of course, my body was on fire on 2 in the morning. Cortisol, I told myself, pressure, the tax of women keeping everything and everyone together. It did not occur to me that the thing soaking my sheets was not my calendar or my marriage. It was my chemistry, keeping its own time, saying something my stress was more willing to blame for. This is the trap for women like us. We are so practiced at absorbing load that when our own body finally raises its hand, we assume it's just one more thing to manage. So I asked for the labs. When my practitioner looked up from my panel, she told me my testosterone was nearly half of what she would expect it to be. Progesterone, low. Estrogen, holding. And the strangest thing happened in that room. I was not shocked. I was relieved. Not because I wanted something to be wrong, but because I finally had proof that something had been wrong all along. Women spend years quietly wondering if they are lazy, too emotional, too tired, too much, and not enough at the same time. The numbers did not define me, they validated me. Progesterone was the one that undid me the most because I had spent so long blaming my character for it. I thought I was becoming an impatient person, a less joyful person, a woman who could not regulate herself the way she used to. I apologized for it. I braced against it. I lay awake ashamed of it. And it was never my character, it was my chemistry. That single reframe changed the way I see women entirely. Because once I understood it, I could not stop counting how many of us are apologizing for symptoms we were taught to read as personality flaws. Since I published this letter, I cannot tell you how many women have written back some version of the exact same sentence. I thought it was me. I thought I was just becoming harder to live with. It was never you. It was your chemistry. I'm going to keep saying that until it is ordinary, until a woman can walk into a 7-minute appointment and not have to prove she knows her own body better than the chart does. Here is the part no one tells you. The diagnosis is not the finish line, it's the starting gun. No one handed me a plan. I had to become the CEO of my own healthcare. I asked for more testing. I got second opinions. I tracked symptoms in the Notes app at midnight while the baby slept on my chest. I read the research I was never handed. I pushed when I was told to wait, and I waited on nothing that felt like my life leaking out of me. Being your own advocate is exhausting. It is also so often the exact difference between surviving your body and healing it. There were days the advocacy cost me more than the symptoms did. Days I hung up from an appointment and I cried in the parking garage. Not because of anything catastrophic had happened, but because I was so tired of proving I knew my own body better than a 7-minute visit did. When I finally started testosterone, I was not trying to become someone new. I was trying to remember what it felt like to be myself. I want to read you something a reader sent me this week. I read your letter in the pediatrician's parking lot with my baby asleep in the back. I have been telling myself for a year that I am just so tired, just older, just not myself. I did not know there was a word for the glass. I am calling to ask for the labs on Monday. I have read that 3 times because that is the whole thing. Right there. She did not need a diagnosis to feel less alone. She needed permission to believe herself. Somewhere in that year, I stopped telling 2 separate stories. There was not the reinvention over here and the hormones over there. They were the same story. My body was not betraying me in my 40s. She was renegotiating. We are told 40 is when things begin to fall apart. I have come to believe 40 is when your body finally refuses to whisper. She starts speaking loudly enough that you can no longer look away. And if you are willing to listen, she will tell you the truth long before anyone writes it on a chart. And she rarely picks a convenient moment. For so many of us, this season lands in the middle of everything at once: young children, aging parents, work that will not slow down, a marriage that is either deepening or quietly ending. Look at the numbers, and the timing is impossible to miss. The divorce rate for women over 50 in this country has nearly tripled since 1990, and nearly 7 in 10 American divorces are filed by women. That surge sits directly on top of the menopausal window. For me, it came earlier than the statistics even bother to track. The morning the baby and the night sweat shared a house was not the beginning of anything. It was year 6 or 7. My body started the change in my mid-30s, a decade before the book said it should, long before I had the word for it. And my marriage ended at 38, in the middle of a renegotiation I did not yet know I was in. I do not tell you that to blame my body for my divorce. I tell you because for years I was handed the story backward. I was told I was the one coming apart, when the truth was that my body was the first thing in my life brave enough to stop pretending. I want to be careful with that because menopause does not cause divorce. There's no clean study that says it does, and I would not trust anyone selling you that line. What it does is quieter and truer. It magnifies whatever was already there. It takes a woman who spent years managing everyone else's comfort and hands her back her own nervous system. And when she can feel her life clearly again, she stops agreeing to the parts of it that were quietly making her disappear. Hormones are never the whole story. They move through everything else a woman is already carrying. And then they refuse, finally, to let her keep pretending it is light. So, if you have spent the last year wondering whether you have become someone you do not recognize, I want to tell you where to start. Not with shame, not with another supplement a stranger sold you on the internet, not by convincing yourself to push harder through a body that is asking you to stop. Start by asking your body what she's been trying to tell you, and then go get the information that lets you actually answer her. The lab panel to request by name, the symptoms that are chemistry, not character, the questions your doctor should have asked you first. Rebuilding does not begin with fixing yourself. It begins with finally believing yourself. You are not falling apart. You are becoming mommy mental. This is where that next chapter begins. Before I let you go, sit with these with me. What has your body been trying to tell you that you've been blaming on your character? When did you last mistake your chemistry for a personality flaw, the impatience, the flatness, a joy that went quiet? And the one I want to leave you with, what would change tomorrow if rebuilding started not with fixing yourself, but with believing yourself? Mommy Mentally, Erica.
That was Mommy Mental Reinvention. If this episode found you at the exact right moment, it is not an accident. It is what happens when women rebuilding out loud find each other. Stay close for the next episode. Another essay voiced, another story I did not write down. Between now and then, reply to this one and tell me what landed. Send it to the woman in your text thread who is holding too much and would never say so. And subscribe if you have not yet, because I only make this for people who are actually rebuilding. You are not falling apart. You are becoming mommy mental. See you soon, Mommy Mentally.